Hello, my name is Ilona and today is Monday, February 12th, 2024. The Super Bowl has happened and the Kaiser Chiefs won. What a surprise! No one saw that one coming. Very interesting. I already saw a lot of messages. I'm sure a lot of people will, get to the bottom of things and will start to dissect it. I did see a picture of Taylor Swift, obviously, because there was a lot of focus on her, and she was in like a VIP box with, I believe, a rapper called Ice Spice, if I'm not mistaken, and she was wearing black and an upside cross. Very interesting. An upside cross. It's getting in your face, let's just say. So I'm sure more and more things will be coming out about that, but it was interesting to see. So I'm not going to really spend a lot of time with that. The thing I wanted to take a look at in this video, first of all, was Mr. T in South Carolina emphasized again about the NATO that if countries don't pay up, then America is not going to help if Russia would attack. So this is interesting. Even in Dutch media, they were paying attention to this. He's mentioned this in 2018, and he was talking about this in South Carolina again. And it's very interesting in the articles here in the Netherlands. They were like, is it possible that he could blow up the NATO because of all these things that he was mentioning? And it's just interesting to see. So I do believe that there's not much left in the NATO, but what is the energy? What was this about? What was he talking about? I think it's moving away from the NATO. And especially after the interview with Tucker Carlson and Mr. P, there was very clearly that the NATO is not there to create peace. It's more like they're trying to keep everything, in a certain way so they can start wars again and keep that military complex going. So let's see. The first card I've got, about what Mr. T has said about these things, mentioning again in South Carolina. He doesn't, do things just to do them. There's purpose behind this. So I thought it was very interesting. He mentioned this again. We've got the Fool. That's like a new beginning. The central card is the Five of Swords. The card in the past is the Three of Swords. We've got the Five of Pentacles underneath the Five of Swords. And for the future, we have the Lover's card and we have the Two of Cups. So this to me feels like making completely different decisions and creating stability, healing. So I do think that the entire NATO is going to disappear. There's already a new energy starting. So this is really about the Fool is starting a completely new cycle. And especially with these cards, they're not in a good place. NATO, no money, nothing. There's not much there. It's still trying to keep up things. And the feeling I'm getting, especially with the European Union sending money to the Ukraine, NATO still trying to create all these, getting people or getting countries to pay up or munition or things like that. It feels like there's not much left there. There's not much money there. So sometimes when I can hear, when they're talking about these 50, I think, billion euro they want to send from the European Union to the Ukraine, I kind of wonder if it's really there or if they're just saying some numbers and like, yeah, that's going to head that direction. Because I don't think there is much left. Of course, it's completely up to your perspective. You can see it as the dark energies, obviously trying to drain countries so they can take over. I see it as white hats draining the dark energies so they won't be able to, do all these things they were capable of doing, creating war, creating confusion. I think they're purposely draining everything so there's nothing left. And you see there's a very grim atmosphere in the NATO. This is the card of that they're not really any winners, they're just losers. And really that's what this is about. There's nothing there for them to do. It's a very grim atmosphere and there's really nothing left anymore. I don't think there's any kind of money left anymore. And they're really scrambling how to deal with this. And I think it's done on purpose by the White Hats to make sure that they won't be able to do all these things that they want to do. They are still capable of doing certain things on a very local scale, but they are not capable of doing these massive things anymore. I do want to mention that, of course, I think there's this military exercise happening. I think that it's done by the white hats to, right now in Europe, I believe. It's one of the biggest NATO exercises military-wise. And I think it's purposely done to put people in place. So I don't think this is really from NATO itself. And some things need to be shown, need to be done. So we are really in this phase of showing people what's going on. But I don't think there's anything left in the NATO. They barely have any money. They barely have any influence. But it will seem like they still have influence and they can still do things also to show people what's really been going on all this time. Because otherwise people won't fully understand what's been happening. But there's a new fresh wind going on. This is like the beginning of a new cycle. Healing is what I'm seeing. So this will be healed as well. And that's why Mr. T is bringing this back again to focus that on NATO, especially after the interview with Mr. P, who made very clear that the NATO is not there to create peace for humanity, but to keep everything going in war-wise for the military complex. They have completely different agendas. So I think this is done on purpose, which is usually the case with Mr. T. He doesn't do anything for nothing, so to speak. There is a plan behind it. The other thing I wanted to take a look at was two TikTok videos, clips I shared from another channel. And it's very interesting. This is from 48 Red Maven. That's the name for TikTok. The first clip is about expectations. That people have these expectations concerning, with the interview with Mr. P and Tucker Carlson, that he should have mentioned all kinds of things with children, that he should have mentioned all these things they make, of course, that is connected to children. They should have gone deeper. And this really isn't, for the people that are already aware. I believe that interview was to really open people's minds to the fact that Mr. P is not the monster the media, the mainstream media has created. And it's very important, first of all, to start with that. So that interview was not for the people that are already aware of things and already know a lot of things. It's for the people that are completely unaware. And I think a lot of things that are happening now are for those people. And if you have expectations of how things should go, how things should be handled, it should happen on this date or it should happen this way, then you're going to get very disappointed. And I think it is important to realize that. And I completely agree with her. There is one thing I have as an expectation. I know this is going to end and I know it will be for the betterment of humanity. That's how I feel about it. That's it. So how things will go, the why, the what, the how is not that relevant to me. And I think we should step away from that, because otherwise you're just going to get very disappointed. You're going to lose hope. That it will create a very low vibration, because if you feel like, well, nothing really matters, nothing's happening, you just really are, not raising your energy. You are, your frequency, but you're lowering it. So it's very important, if you do feel that way, feel through it, because there are still things inside of you. Why you're focused on all these, disappointments? Why are you expecting so much? Feel through it and let go of it, because it's very, very important to really just focus on this is going to end. We just don't know how it's going to end. We do know it's going to end, and I believe it's going to end well for us. That's really the only expectation you should have, because then you're not going to get so exhausted. It's not going to, create all this hopelessness or feeling that it's not getting anywhere. It's very important that we should focus on that. The other clip I also shared of her, which is very interesting, that the end is not for everyone. The 17th letter of the alphabet also mentioned that in a posting. And she mentions that there are people that are not going to wake up, and we shouldn't focus on that. I think that's very important. I actually also did a card reading, so I'm going to show the cards about that. But that resonates with me. And I've mentioned this before in all the videos, that we don't have to wait for everyone to wake up, because that's not going to happen. That was never going to happen. She mentions in her clip that there are a lot of things on the background happening, and as soon as that's settled and worked out, it will become public. I believe that it's purposely done this way to also give people the opportunity to wake up. So I believe that it's purposely done to have as many people as possible, at least give them the possibility to wake up. Because, it will lead to separations in different timelines. But there is going to be a group of people that's never going to wake up. So if you're only focused on the people that are not waking up, you're going to be frustrated. Again, it will lower your frequencies. And really, it's not going to ultimately affect you. That's very important to understand. Your timeline, where you're going to end up, is dependent on your frequency. So if you're just focused on yourself, raise your frequency, not focus on people that are just not waking up, it is what it is, then of course you'll end up on the timeline you want to be in. So I think it's very important, but I also wanted to take a look at that, because that's the feeling I'm getting as well, that not everyone is going to wake up. But I do believe that things are purposely done this way to wake up as many people as possible, or at least give them the opportunity, because this is a free will zone. So we have to decide for ourselves if we want to wake up or not. And the cards I've got was the King of Pentacles. We have the Moon for the central card. We've got the Ten of Cups in the past. We got the Death card underneath the Moon. And then for the future, we have the Page of Cups and the Hermit. So this kind of confirms to me that this is done. There are opportunities given to everyone for humanity to find answers inside of ourselves, to really, wake up, the great awakening, to give that opportunity. And it will be up to each and every one of us to follow that or not. It has to do with soul contracts, consciousness, maybe more experience are needed in a different timeline. It will be up to each and every one of us to decide whether we're going to wake up or not. That's not something you can force someone. You can't force people to wake up, because it's something internal. People will have to make that decision themselves to open up or to close off. We also see that this is to do with plans being laid out. The King of Pentacles is a planner. We've got the Moon, so not everything is what it seems. I think that is very... the card is really for this period of time. Nothing is what it seems. So it may seem one way, but it really is something else. And I do believe that what we're seeing, it may not completely be what we all want to see, especially people that have been really aware of this for decades, maybe going way too slow. But this is really to open up people as much as possible. People that have no awareness of this, not understanding what's going on. It's giving them an opportunity. So nothing is what it seems. Most of what we see is not directed at the people that are already aware. But the end is already happening. This cannot be stopped. So if we have a group of people that are not going to wake up, it's not going to stop the process, because the process is internal. I won't say it is eternal, but it's internal, and maybe also eternal, because ultimately we are spiritual beings and we are eternal. But the Hermit, it's an internal decision each and every one of us has to make, but it's already happening. It cannot be stopped. So don't be focused on that. Don't get discouraged. Don't get desperate. If you do feel those feelings, see what comes up. There are still parts in you that need some healing, because apparently things are triggering you. But really focus on yourself. That is the most important thing we can do now. Focus on ourselves, raise our own vibration. Focus on that, and that will lead to the timeline we want to be on. Not focus on anyone else. Of course, do your thing, talk to people if they're open. If they're not, just let them be, because it's useless to try to force people to wake up. It's not going to happen. And things are unfolding right now. This is really, nothing is what it seems. and it will open up people and it will reach different groups of people. So I'd like to leave it at this. Hope to see you in another video. Bye.